So here, the author says, may Allah Ta'ala have mercy upon him. فَتَبَيَّنَ أَنَّ الْقُرْآنَ لَهُ إِطْلَاقًا. And so it became clear that the word Al-Qur'an has two usages. أي له معنيان, meaning it has two meanings. الأول إطلاقه على الكلام الذاتي الذي ليس هو بحرف ولا صوت. The first is using it to refer to the self-speech, that which is neither of letter nor of sound. ولا لغة عربية ولا غيرها, nor is it an Arabic language nor otherwise. والثاني إطلاقه على اللفظ المنزل. The second is using it to refer to the revealed expression. الذي يقرأه المؤمنون, that expression that the believers recite. وذلك الكلام الذي ليس حرفا ولا صوتا, and that speech which is neither a letter nor a sound, so it's the eternal attribute. يقال له قرآن, it's called Quran. وتوراة, and Torah. وإنجيل وزبور, and it's called Injil, and it's called Zabur. That's a nice detail to add to the outstanding reference. أما ألفاظ القرآن وألفاظ التوراة وألفاظ الإنجيل وألفاظ الزبور. Concerning, though, the expressions of the Quran and those of the Torah and of the Injil and of the Zabur, al-Munazzala, the revealed expressions, فَهَذِهِ مَخْلُوقَةٌ اللَّهُ خَلَقَهَا. These are created. Allah created them. وَلَكِنَّهَا ليست من تأليف الأنبياء ولكنها ليست من تأليف الأنبياء. However, it is not composition from the prophets. ولا جبريل, nor from angel Gabriel. إنما هي مكتوبة في اللوح المحفوظ. Rather, it is written in the guarded tablet. أمر الله جبريل أن يأخذها وينزلها على أولئك الأنبياء الأربعة. Allah commanded Gabriel to retrieve those revealed scriptures and then to bring them down upon those four prophets. Jibreel arafa amra Allahi lah. Gabriel was aware of God's command to him. لأن الله أسمعه كلامه الذي ليس حرفا ولا صوتا. Because Allah made him hear his speech, that speech which is neither a letter nor a sound. ففهم منه أن يأخذ ذلك الذي كتب على اللوح المحفوظ. And he understood from that to retrieve that which is written in the guarded tablet, or upon the guarded tablet, what is written on the guarded tablet, like you say, it's written on the board, on. وَيُنْزِلَهُ عَلَى نَبِيِّنَا مُحَمَّدٍ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ, and to bring it down upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. فَفَعَلَ ذَلِكَ جِبْرِيلٌ, and so Gabriel did so. ثُمَّ الرَّسُولُ قَرَأَهُ عَلَى الصَّحَابَةِ, then the messenger recited it to the companions. جِبْرِيلُ قَرَأَ الْقُرْآنَ عَلَى الرَّسُولِ, Gabriel recited the Quran upon the messenger. أي أسمعه إياه, meaning he made him hear it. فتلقاه الرسول من جبريل بالحرف والصوت. Thus, the messenger received that from Gabriel by letter and sound. ثم الصحابة تلقوا من الرسول. ثم الصحابة تلقوا من الرسول. Then the companions received it from the messenger. أما يوم القيامة, concerning judgment day, though, فَيَسْمَعُ كُلُّ وَاحِدٍ كَلَامَ اللَّهِ, every individual shall hear the speech of God. الَّذِي لَيْسَ حَرْفًا وَلَا صَوْتًا, that speech which is neither a letter nor a sound. وَيَفْهَمُونَ عَنْ أَيِّ شَيْءٍ يَسْأَلُهُمْ, and they shall understand about whatever thing they are asked. وَمَاذَا يَقُولُ لَهُمْ, and they shall understand whatever he says to them. الْمُؤْمِنُونَ يَفْرَحُونَ عِنْدَ ذَلِكَ, the believers shall be delighted at that or by that. أَمَّا الْكُفَّارِ, but concerning the blasphemers, فَيَفْزَعُونَ عِنْدَ سَمَاعِ كَلَامِهِ, they shall be shocked when they hear his speech. وَتَقْرِيبُ ذَلِكَ, and the approximation of that. أَنَّ لَفْظَ الْجَلَالَةِ اللَّهِ عِبَارَةٌ عَنْ ذَاتٍ أَزَلِيٍّ قَدِيمٍ أَبَدِيٍّ, is that the expression of majesty, Allah, refers to an eternal, beginningless, everlasting self. فَإِذَا قُلْنَا نَعْبُدُ اللَّهِ, thus, were we to say, we worship Allah, فَذَلِكَ الذَّاتُ هُوَ الْمَقْصُودُ, then that self is what's intended. وَإِذَا كُتِبَ هَذَا اللَّفْظ, and had this expression been written, فَقِيلَ مَا هَذَا, and then it were said, what is this? You call, it would be said, yani the answer would be, Allah. Allah. Answer would be, if someone says, what's this? You'd say, Allah. بمعنى أن هذه الحروف تدل على ذلك الذات الأزلي الأبدي, with the meaning that those letters refer to that eternal, everlasting self. لا بمعنى أن هذه الحروف هي الذات الذي نعبده, not with the meaning that these letters are the very self that we worship. فصفة الكلام أزلية أبدية, therefore the attribute of speech is eternal, everlasting. لا يجوز أن تكون حرفا أو صوتا, it is not possible that it be a letter or a sound. لأن الحرف والصوت مخلوقان بالمشاهدة, because the letter and the sound are created by observation. Yani, their being created is known by observation. بطريق الحس. No. فكما أن صفاته من العلم والقدرة والإرادة وغير ذلك أزلية قديمة, so just as his attributes, whether knowledge or power or will or otherwise, are eternal, beginningless, كذلك كلامه الذاتي أزلي قديم, likewise his self-speech is eternal, beginningless. ليس حرفا ولا صوتا, it is neither a letter nor a sound. وذلك لأنه سبحانه مباين, and that is because he, the glorified and exalted, is distinct. أي غير مشابه لجميع المخلوقات, meaning unlike all creations. في الذات, in the self, أي ذاته لا يشبه ذوات المخلوقات, meaning that his self is unlike the selves of the creations. أي حقيقته لا تشبه الحقائق, meaning his reality is unlike the realities. وفي الصفات, and in the attributes, أي صفاته لا تشبه صفات المخلوقات, meaning his attributes are unlike the attributes of the creations. وفي الفعل, and in the doing, أي فعله لا يشبه فعل المخلوقات, meaning his act is unlike the act of the creations. لأن فعل الله تعالى أزلي أبدي, because the doing of Allah, exalted is He, is eternal, everlasting. So that means right there, what did he do? Took the Maturidi position. He didn't say they differed about it. Some of them said he stated it as a fact, as a matter of fact. That's his position here about the Tekween, where the Ash'aris and Maturidis differed. Sheikh is an advocate for the Maturidi way in this mas'ala. لأن فعل الله تعالى أزلي أبدي, because the act of God, exalted is He, is eternal, everlasting. والمفعول حادث, and the done thing is an event. So because the doing of God, exalted is He, is eternal, everlasting, and what was done is an event, yani a created thing that happened. كما أن قدرة الله تعالى أزلية ومقدوره حادث. Just as the power of Allah, exalted is He, is eternal, and that which He powers is created. That's right here. He's arguing against the Ash'ari position here about Takween. This part of the argument, he just didn't say here. This is the argument against the Ash'aris for the Maturidis concerning Takween, but he's going to come to it. فَنَحْنُ الْعَوَالِمْ كُلُّنَا مَقْدُورُونَ لِلَّهِ تَعَالَى. And so we, created beings, all of us are powered by Allah Ta'ala, exalted is He. أوجدنا بقدرة أزلية أبدية, meaning He brought us forth by an eternal, everlasting power. قال الإمام أبو حنيفة رضي الله عنه والبخاري رحمهما الله تعالى. Said Imam Abu Hanifa, may Allah accept his deeds, and Imam al-Bukhari, may Allah have mercy on both of them. Exalted is Allah. فعله تعالى صفته في الأزل والمفعول حادث. His doing, exalted is He, is His attribute in eternity. And the done thing is a created event. This is exactly is the case of Takween, Sheikh's talking about here. As few times we went over, it should be clear for you here. هذا عند أبي حنيفة وأتباعه. This is according to Abu Hanifa and his followers. والبخاري أيضا, and Al-Bukhari also معهم, he's with them في هذه المسألة, in this case. He agrees with them. يقولون الله تعالى يفعل فعلا بقدرته الأزلية. They say that Allah does a doing by His eternal power. There, I just have a question there, though. They had some talk about the power that's different from Ash'aris. Some said that the power, according to the Maturidis, is an attribute of perfection. And that Takween, creating or doing, is an attribute by which He brings things into existence. They differentiated there. While the Ash'ari said his power is his attribute by which he brings things into existence. But this is what Sheikh says here. He says, according to them, Sheikh says that they say, Yakulun, they say, Allahu Ta'ala yaf'alu fi'lan bi kudratihi al-azaliyah. Allah does a doing by his eternal power. Wa bi takwinihi al-azali, and by his eternal creating. Bila mubasharatin wala mumassatin li shay', without any contact and without touching anything. Amma al-ash'ira, as for the Ash'aris, yaqulun, they say, fi'lullahi laysa sifatan dhatiyatan qa'imatan bi dhatillah. The doing of Allah is not a self-attribute confirmed by the self of Allah. إنما فعل الله عبارة عن أثر القدرة. Merely, according to them, the doing of Allah, what's called the doing of Allah, refers to a trace of the power. So to them, the doing means the done thing. To the Maturidis, the doing is not the done thing. The doing is the attribute of the doer. And the done thing is what came into existence by the doing of the doer. For the Ash'aris, the doing is the done thing. It's a trace of his power. Al-Qudratu qadimatun. The power for the Ash'aris is eternal. وَمُتَعَلَّقَاتُهَا مَخْلُوقَةٌ حَادِثَةٌ. And that to which it pertains, those things to which the power pertains, are created events. أما فعل الله عند الماتريدية والبخاري. As for the doing of Allah according to the Maturidis and Al-Bukhari, azali, it's eternal. Here there's no fa. Normally you'd say fa azali because of amma kada fa kada. But it is valid to omit that fa. And Shaykh does omit that fa a lot of times. Al-Bukhari qabla al-Maturidiyah. Al-Bukhari existed before the Maturidis. لكن الماتريدية وافق قولهم قول البخاري. However, the Maturidis, what they said complies with what Al-Bukhari said, agrees with what Al-Bukhari said, وغيره من السلف, and with what others from the Salaf said. فعل الله عندهم قديم أزلي. The doing of God, according to them, is beginningless, eternal. إنما مفعوله حادث. It is merely what he did, yani the done thing, his done thing. It is merely his done thing that is created. ذوات العالم مفعول الله. The selves of the created beings are the doing of Allah. Are the done things of Allah. So they're the done things of Allah. The selves of the created beings are the done things of Allah. Amma fi'lullah, amma fi'lullahi iyaha. As for God's doing of them, a khalquhu iyaha, meaning his creating of them, qadimun azali. It's eternal, beginningless. So also here he said amma, but without the fat. The fat will go here. Faqadim. وَكُلٌّ مِّنَ الْمَذْهَبَيْنِ يَجُوزُ اعْتِقَادُهُ. And both ways, both schools, it's permissible to believe it. It's permissible to believe it. But Sheikh, really though, and some of his other books, he supports the Maturidi way, and what indicates that is how he started with the Maturidi way, without even indicating that there's another way. And then he, as they say, segued into the fact that there's a difference about that. And now he says both ways, it's permissible to believe. وكلا المذهبين يقولان الله يوجد ما شاء وجوده بلا تعب ولا مشقة ولا تأخر عن الوقت الذي شاء في الأزل أن يوجد المخلوق فيه. Both parties say, both schools say, Allah creates whatever He willed for it to exist. He does so without exhaustion and without difficulty and without any delay beyond the time that He willed in eternity for the creation to exist. وأنه يوجد المخلوقات بلا مباشرة ولا مماسة, and that He makes the creations exist without contact and without touching. So, what's the Maturidi way that Sheikh truly advocates? It's to say, God is the doer, the eternal doer with an eternal doing, and the done thing is created. That's permissible, and that's the way Sheikh supports. The other way, which is permissible, it's not haram and it's not deviance, but the Sheikh doesn't support it, is to say Allah is creator in eternity by name, not by having an attribute of creating in eternity. And He's powerful in eternity, and what is done, by His power, what is done by His power, His doing is by His power. That's what they say. And His doing is by His power. They say Allah is creator in eternity by name. That's the name of His, creator. Khaliq, al-Khaliq. It's a name of His, and it's not a name of His because of the Arabic language. The Arabic language would dictate that if that's His name, if that's His description, then He should have the attribute of khalq, and then the makhluq is a creation. He said, not this way. They said, not this way. Rather, He is eternal, that's for sure. And He is attributed with power, that's for sure. That's one of the 13 attributes that's eternal, that are eternal. And the creations are done things that have a beginning, that's for sure. They say these done things, they are His doings. These done things are His doings. These doings are traces of His power. That's the Ash'ari way. These doings are traces of His power. So to them, doing means done thing, not attribute of the doer, but the trace of the power of the creator, of the powerful one. The doing is a trace of the power of the powerful one, according to the Ash'aris. You can go either way. Sheikh says the first one is stronger. In the explanation of An-Nasafi, he gives many points why that way is not the strong way. قال إنما الهلاك والضلال المبين قول المعتزلة وقول المشبهة. Rather, the doom, and the clear misguidance is what the Mu'tazila said and what the God comparers said. Al-Mu'tazilatu yaqulun, the Mu'tazila say, Allahu laysa lahu kalamun qa'imun bidhatih. Allah does not have a speech that's confirmed by his self. إنما كلامه ما يخلقه في غيره. Rather, his speech is something that he would create in something else. He would create speech from something. That speech would come forth from that thing, and then that would be his speech. وهذا كفر. That's blasphemy. They're saying Allah would create a tree and then make that tree speak, and then that would be the speech of Allah. That's blasphemy. وَالْمُشَبِّهَةُ الْقُدَمَاءُ وَالْمُحْدَثُونَ وَهُمُ الْوَهَّابِيَّةِ. And the God comparers, old and new, and the new ones are the Wahhabis. يَقُولُونَ, they say, Allahu mutakallimun biharfin wa sawt. Allah is a speaker by a letter and a sound. وَهَؤُلَاءِ أَيْضًا كَفَرُوا. And those have also blasphemed. لأنه لو كان يتكلم بالحرف والصوت, because had he been speaking with a letter and a sound, لكان مثلنا, then he would have been like us. ولو كان مثلنا لكان حادثا ولم يكن خالقا. لكان حادثا ولم يكن خالقا. And had he been like us, he would have been a creation, and he would not have been the creator. فَالْحَقُّ مَا قَالَهُ أَهْلُ السُّنَّةِ. Therefore, the truth is what the people of the prophetic way said. إِنَّ كَلَامَ اللَّهِ مَعْنًا قَائِمٌ بِذَاتِهِ. They said, indeed, the speech of God is an attribute confirmed by his self. لا يتبعض قديم أزلي. It doesn't break into pieces. It's eternal, beginningless. كذلك عندهم علمه وقدرته وسمعه وبصره ومشيئته وحياته. And likewise, according to them, to the people of the prophetic way, likewise is God's knowledge and power and hearing and sight and will and life. كل أزلي. All of them and each one of them is eternal. فلا يتصف الله بصفة حادثة تقوم بذاته. Therefore, Allah is not attributed with an attribute, a created attribute that's confirmed by his self. هذه الصفات يقال لها صفات المعاني. These attributes are called the ma'ani attributes. وهي هذه السبعة. They are these seven. So I've footnote here. سميت كذلك لأن كلا منها معنى متحقق يصح أن يراه العبد إذا أقدره الله تعالى على ذلك. So these attributes, they're called the ma'ani attributes, which we're going to call confirmed or confirming attributes. Confirming attributes. وهي هذه السبعة. They are these seven, meaning the consensus about them is these seven. بعض أهل السنة زاد البقاء. And some of the people of the prophetic way have added to this category an eighth one, which is everlastingness. بقاء الله أيضا عندهم صفة ذاتية قديمة أزلية من صفات المعاني. God's everlastingness also, according to them, is an eternal, beginningless self-attribute amongst the confirming attributes. Confirming what? Confirming something with a real existence beyond our mental conception. Or as they say, fil kharij, laha wujudun fil kharij. That's what they say in Arabic. Laha wujudun fil kharij. If you translate that statement literally, you'd say those attributes have an existence outside. Outside. What does outside here mean? It means outside of our own conception, outside of our mental conception. Yani, you have to understand that there's some things that our mind registers them, some meanings that our minds register as real, and some meanings that our minds, let me say it this way. This is what I want to say. There are some meanings or concepts, if you want, that our minds register as real, but they don't have an existence outside of our mental conception. So an easy example for you is numbers. So for any one of us, if we didn't think critically or too deeply, then if I say 1, 2, 3, so then 1 has, maybe in your mind, without thinking too hard about it, has an existence, and 2 and 3. But there's no 1 that really exists. Some 1 somewhere, some mystical number 1 on a mountaintop in the jungle somewhere, you cutting through the vines to find it with your machete. So the existence of 1 and 2, etc., those exist in our minds. Those exist according to our mental conception. They don't exist outside of our mental conception in reality. So someone might say, all right, what are you getting at here, brother? We're talking about the attributes of Allah. Yes. So what we're getting at is that there's some attributes of Allah Ta'ala, they don't exist fil kharij. Laysa laha wujudun fil kharij. That's what the scholars say. And this is delicate subject when it's new to you, so be mindful here. They say laysa laha wujudun fil kharij. Some attributes don't have an existence outside. Which attributes are those? Those are the sifat salbiyah, the negating attributes, attributes of Allah that negate something. They don't confirm something. Like what? Like oneness negates a partner, and eternity negates having a beginning, and dissimilarity. That's a great example here. We could start with dissimilarity. What is it? What does that mean? It means not being like something. So, Yani, how does that, when we say something exists beyond our mental conception, has a true existence beyond our mere mental conception, that would mean that then it could be seen. Anything that exists can be seen. So how would you see dissimilarity? You don't see the dissimilarity. You see Allah, you see the self of Allah, but you don't see dissimilarity. Yani, it wouldn't be seen. It wouldn't be seen. You see the self of Allah. If Allah empowered you, you'd see his knowledge, and you'd see his power, and you'd see his will without them being parts or pieces. Again, this is delicate for a beginner. So understand this talk. Don't be confused by it, because it's being confused by talk like this that makes us not able to talk about it, so that we don't confuse people. One brother, I was teaching him this. Wallahi, it's like he's ready to deem me a kafir. Very good brother of ours. Yeah, and he was so concerned, if only you saw the look on his face. Yeah, it's like he's ready to start sweating bullets. So Now, are we saying you're going to see the knowledge of Allah and the will of Allah and the power of Allah and the speech of Allah? We're not saying that you will see that. What we learned is that the self of Allah is seen. The self of Allah is seen. That's what we learned. So what are we saying then? Then what are we talking about concerning these attributes? That Allah has attributes that really exist beyond our mental conception. And the meaning of them truly existing beyond our mental conception is that they could be seen had Allah enabled the slaves to see them. He has other attributes that are mentioned in the Quran and confirmed by our mental conception. But those attributes, they wouldn't be seen, like dissimilarity wouldn't be seen. And for example, independence, not needing anything, that's not something that would be seen. Not needing something is not something that would be seen. So maybe this, what we're talking about, needs some maybe some minds need some strengthening to understand this. If it's new for you, if you've been learning correct creed and this is new for you, then you just got to sit on it for a while. I remember it being new for me, and I had to sit on it for a while. I definitely remember our brother, may Allah have mercy on him, it clicked for him, but it wasn't easy at first. So, because what's my concern? Because somebody's who likes to play, he's going to say, so you're saying Allah's attributes don't exist? And then we're going to have some unwanted debate. So, Allah has 13 attributes that we're obligated to learn. These 13 attributes can be divided into 3 categories. One of them is al-wujud, existence. This has a category of its own, which is as-sifatun nafsiyah, the self attribute. That's the self attribute. Even this, wallahi, I'll be honest with you, even this, the self attribute, and I've been saying this for years, it just finally came clear for me. I was always reluctant. I was always saying it with reluctance, self attribute. Now it's clear for me. Because a self is not an attribute. And an attribute is not a self. Al-wujud is the self attribute. That's one category. Then you have another category, as-sifatu salbiyah, the negating attributes. According to some, there are 4 of them. According to some, there are 5 of them. So the 4 that they agree about are existence without a beginning, existence without a partner, existence without a similarity, existence without a requirement. All of those are negating. Without beginning, without partner, without resemblance, and without requirement. So you don't see that. That's not seeable. And some said everlastingness is one of them. Others, they said, no, everlastingness is one of the other. The third category, the ma'ani, which we're calling here confirming attributes. Those will be life, knowledge, power, will, sight, hearing, and speech. That's 7. And some said the 8th one is everlastingness. So everlastingness, they differed between whether it's negating or confirming. The strong saying, according to our Shaykh, and what he showed us to be its arguments, is the everlastingness. Shaykh Abdullah has a secret in teaching and in his approach, his presentation of the religion. And he showed us the strong sayings and he showed us the proofs and arguments for them. And then there will come someone who didn't learn from Shaykh Abdullah and say, hey, you stop arguing against those some scholars, what some scholars said. Stop arguing against what some scholars said. Really, though, Sheikh taught us the arguments, the proofs and the arguments. Those ones who are saying, don't you argue against those, they don't know how to argue either side. They just know it was said. They just know some said this and some said that, and they can't go further. Sheikh taught us. Some said this, some said that. What's stronger is this, and the argument is this. Sheikh says, Al-yawma aktharu ahli sunnati ash'ariyah. Today, most of the people of the prophetic way are Ash'aris. Ala madhhabi Abi al-Hasan al-Ash'ari. Upon the way, upon the school of Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari. وَمَا عَلَيْهِ الْمَاتُرِيدِيَّةُ أَيْضًا حَقٌّ. And the way of the Maturidis is also true, or truth. لَا يُقَالُ لِمَنْ يَقُولُ بِهِ بِدْعِيٌّ. It is not said of someone who follows the Maturidi way that he's a heretic. وَالْبِدْعِيُّ هُوَ مَنْ عَقِيدَتُهُ خِلَافُ عَقِيدَةِ أَهْلِ السُنَّةِ. And the heretic, he's the one whose conviction is in opposition to the conviction of the people of the prophetic way. Minhum al-Mu'tazila. Amongst them are the Mu'tazila, the outcasts. Wa minhum al-Mushabbiha. And amongst them are the God comparers. Wa minhum al-Murji'ah. And amongst them are the exonerators who believe that no Muslim will be punished. Wa minhum al-Jabriyah. And amongst them are people who believe in compulsion. They believe that the slaves have no choice. وهم أي البدعيون في الاعتقاد 72 فرقة. And they, meaning the heretics in conviction, are of 72 sects. 72. So there's a 73rd sect that's not deviant. So they're not included here. There are 72 that are. And then there are still more others beyond those 72 that are not even affiliated with Islam, even if they claim so. These 72 are deviant, are heretics, yet they are affiliated with Islam. There are special rules in our religion concerning them. Rules pertaining to marriage and entering the masjid and burial, for example, and inheritance. And then there are groups outside of these 72 who claim to be Muslims or Islamic groups, and they have no special rules for entering the masjid. They can't, in other words. And they're not buried in Muslim cemetery under any circumstance, and they cannot inherit from the Muslims in any circumstance, and they cannot marry Muslim women, and Muslim women cannot marry them under any circumstance. وَالْمُشَبِّهَةُ أَيْضًا فِرَقٌ مُتَعَدِّدَةٌ. And the God comparers are also numerous groups. Some Mu'tazila were God comparers. Shiites, there are Shiites who are God comparers, and there are Khawarij who are God comparers. هؤلاء الوهابية مشبهة. And those Wahhabis are God comparers. يشبهون الله بخلقه. They compare God to his creation. لأن الله عندهم جسد. Because to them, God is a body. له أعضاء. He has organs. وله حيز. And he has containment. يستقر فيه. Containment in which he dwells. وهو العرش. That place is the throne over paradise, the ceiling of paradise, that is. وعند بعض مستقره الفراغ الذي فوق العرش. And according to some, his dwellings, or his dwelling is the space, his place of dwelling is the space, the void, the emptiness, the space over the ceiling of paradise. وَكَانَ مِنَ الْمُشَبِّهَةِ مَنْ يَقُولُ, and there were amongst the God comparers who says, Allahu bi surati shabbin amrad. Allah has the appearance of a young man without facial hair. Without facial hair doesn't include the eyebrows and the eyelashes. It means he doesn't have hair around his lips. He doesn't have hair on his jaws or on his cheeks. A lam tanbut lahu lihyah, meaning a beard didn't grow for him. As far as I know, amrad means no facial hair. It's just clean face. One might say baby face, smooth face. وَكَانَ مِنْهُمْ مَنْ يَقُولُ اللَّهُ بِصُورَةِ شَيْخٍ أَشْمَطُ. And some of them say Allah has the appearance of an old man with peppered hair. أي الذي اختلط سواد شعره ببياضه, meaning the one whose black hair is mixed with his white hair. أولئك أشنع لكن كلهم كفار. Those are worse, but all of them are blasphemers. كل جعلوه جسما, all of them made him to be a body. والجسم لا يكون إلا حادثا, and a body would not be but something created. فهم كفار, therefore they are blasphemers. لأنهم جعلوا الله حادثا, because they made God to be something created. لو كان الله جسما لم يستطع أن يخلق الجسم. Had Allah been a body, he wouldn't have been able to create a body. الشمس جسم, the sun is a body. لا تستحق أن تكون إلها, it doesn't deserve to be a god. ومعبود المشبهة هو جسم, and that which the God comparers, the Islamic God comparers worship, it is a body. فلو كان الله تعالى كما يقولون, and so had Allah, exalted as He, been as they say, لما استطاع أن يخلق شيئا, He wouldn't have been able to create anything. لو قيل للوهابي على لسان عابد شمس, from the tongue of a sun worshipper, أنت تعبد جسما تخيلته. Yani, had the sun worshipper said to him, you worship a body that you imagine. تقول إنه ساكن على العرش, you say this one is living over the throne. لم تره, you never saw him. ولا نحن, nor did we. ولا نحن رأيناه, nor did we ever see him. Yani, or anyone else. وأما هذه الشمس, as for this sun, أنت تراها, you see it. ونحن نراها, and we see it. ونحن نرى منافعها, and we see its benefits. وأنت ترى, and you see its benefits. فكيف لا يجوز أن تكون هذه الشمس إلها? So how is it not valid or possible that this sun would be a god? ويجوز عندك أن يكون ذلك الجسم الذي تخيلته إلها. But it's possible according to you that that body that you imagined is a god. And really, he's treating that Wahhabi by saying that to him. You know what they mean when they say he's treating him? Yeah, and he's mistreating him, qad yuqal. And he's disrespecting him. Saying, hey, this is this thing that you imagined. Al-Wahhabi laysa lahu jawab. The Wahhabi would not have an answer. غاية ما عنده أن يقول. The most of what he could say is, قال الله تعالى, Allah the Exalted said, Allahu khaliqu kulli shay. Allah is creator of everything. فيقول عابد الشمس, and then the sun worshipper would say, أنا لا أؤمن بكتابك, I don't believe in your book. أعطني دليلا عقليا. Give me some rational argument. فينقطع الوهابي. So the Wahhabi would be silenced. ليس عنده جواب يقطعه به. He doesn't have an answer by which he could silence the sun worshipper. أما نحن, but we, نقول, we say, الشمس جسم, the sun is a body, له هيئة, it has a form, وشكل مخصوص, in a particular shape. It's not a cube, it's not a pyramid, it's not a square or a triangle. وحد مخصوص, it has a particular limit. تحتاج إلى من أوجدها على هذا الحد. It needs whoever created it with this limit. وعلى هذا الشكل, and with this shape. فلا تصلح أن تخلق شيئا. Therefore, it is not valid, yani it's not suitable to create anything. The sun is not suitable for creating anything. أما الله فهو موجود ليس جسما. As for Allah, He exists, not as a body. ليس له شكل ولا حد أي كمية. He doesn't have a shape nor a limit, meaning an amount. يعني he doesn't have dimensions. لا هو حجم صغير ولا هو حجم كبير. He is neither a small volume nor a big volume. وهو الذي يصح أن يكون خالقا. He is the one that it's valid to be the creator. خالقا للعالم, creator of the world. الذي هو حجم له صفات. He is the one that it's valid that he be creator of the world which itself has a volume with qualities, with attributes. فينقطع عابد الشمس. Then the sun worshipper will be silenced. وَالْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ عَلَى مَذْهَبِ أَهْلِ السُّنَّةِ. And so praise is due to Allah for the school of the people of the prophetic way. Wallahu tabaraka wa ta'ala a'lam. Allah knows best. We'll stop there.